Okay everyone, so thank you for coming on Saltmarsh field trip on Thursday. I hope you enjoyed it. And what we've done so far is we've managed to consolidate your data into a spreadsheet here, which contains the zones 1, 2, 3, 4. So starting from zone 1 we have high marsh, zone 2 mid marsh, zone 3 Spartina, and zone 4 low marsh. And Richard the demonstrator has consolidated all of the groups into the different spreadsheets. Okay, so we have a huge amount of data here. If I scroll all the way along, you see that we've got data from 24 groups, and we've separated them into the different sheets here to reflect the different zones. Okay, so that'll make it a little bit easier for you to manage. In a short moment I'll go through some hints and tips on how to analyze this data set. Okay, but for now we just turn our attention back to the assignment directory in OSX 2003 Blackboard site. You see that I've got assignment 1 Saltmarsh report. Okay, and then I've got a series here of various bits and pieces. I'll just enlarge this window slightly so that we can get the rest of the text on. Okay, so there you can see what I am trying to get across to you here. So we've devised a very short assignment designed to help you practice keeping your work focused. So it's like a single sheet with a single high quality plot, and I provide video guidance for you to follow, and this is part of that provision. Okay, so it's 5% of the module mark. You must hand it in on Friday 23rd of October to turn it in and to the science administration site. I will mark it along with Thomas Cornwall as well, and he will give feedback on those along with me, and we hope to get them back to you fairly quickly. Okay, the whole thing about this is to give you good constructive feedback on your plot style that you're producing, your kind of ideas that you're trying to get across. Okay, in this area here we also have this report guidelines. You must read this. Okay, so if you open it up, you see that we've got a Word document here with a ton of information of what I'm trying to get across, including reference styles, how you should lay it out, including 1.15 line spacing, page margins of 2 cm top, 2 cm bottom left, 2 cm right and left. Okay, paragraphs to be justified, and so on. So if you don't know how to set settings like these, it's very, very simple in Word. I'll just give you a quick insight into that now. So I just go straight to here, File, New Document. I'm just going to create a new Word document here. Okay, so the first one is page margins. That usually occurs in the Layout tab. If you don't have Word, then I don't really know how to do that. But in Word, just click Layout, and then you see here we've got button margins, and you can see I've got last custom setting there, which is 2 cm, 2 cm, 2 cm, 2 cm. And we just, if we don't have that, just go to custom margins and then change all of these to just 2 centimeters. Okay. And then click OK. And you see that my cursor has moved and it's now 2 centimeters. Right, so I just try and create some fake text that allow me to show you about justification and line spacing and so on. Okay, so just a bit of fake text here. You can see that at the corner here that we've got a bit of word wrap going on. So all I'm going to do is select my text, go back to the home panel. You see here we've got some buttons. The last one there is justify text, and you see that all rather neatly on both sides now. So the final thing to do is to set the line spacing, which is this couple of lines with 2 arrows going up and down. Set 115 to separate it out a bit. Okay. So fairly simple to set those various bits and pieces in Excel, in Word. So anyway, so I've given you a handout anyway at the end of the handout. Now we've got some figure generation tutorials of how to change a default Excel graph into a professional plot. And I'll show you some examples below here. So you can see this one. Okay, example A is pretty good. Good use of clear legends, a little There's figure legend there, showing you different dates, different plot types. It's one single colour. It's pretty good. Look at this plot here, where we've got some 3D bars, which are absolutely unneeded. We've got no y-axis label on the side there, so we don't know what that is. Is it count? Oh, there it is, count there, right there. So there's quite a few problems with this graph that's not too neat. And you see here that I've got a different plot, which is from one of my papers in plot 1. And you see that we've got very clear description of what's going on, really well laid out, perfectly lined up. It's absolutely prim and proper. There's not a single thing out of line. That is what you need to be achieving, striving for, is clarity, professionalism, and absolute perfection. Try to avoid this kind of thing here, where you're using a 3D graph. It's not needed, for starters. You're missing vitally important parts out that are needed, like legends for the axis, the titles, and so on. And you've got extra bits in it that are not needed, and you've got a horrible border around the outside of it. You can avoid that. Scrolling down here, this is the one-page example that I wrote. I just zoom out so you can see what I mean by 2 centimeter margins. I've got a title which is informative, gives a result, okay, increases growth rate and survivorship. So it's giving a result. I've got a little bit of text. I've got a tiny little stat there which is just showing a little bit of a significant difference for something. You don't need to do a stat, by the way. You can if you wish. You give feedback on it, but you're unlikely to get any more marks from doing so. And I've got a professional plot here, okay? Now there's only one slight issue with this, which is this text is in Times New Roman. This text here is in a different font. So that is something to keep an eye on, and this is a deliberate mistake I made, just so you could see what the difference is if you look at it. I've also got an unitalicized atrafilmodosum there. Again, that would be cause for punishment. So you've got to keep an eye on things like that, because that will be picked up on, okay? And you see that I've made my references a little bit smaller. A couple, 1, 2, or 3, you don't need 100, but I made them a bit smaller to fit them on, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to fit them on, okay? So that is essentially what I want you to do, is just to produce a single page note style report. You can use references that can be in a smaller text, but you must stick to the guidelines of what font type, what size. You must give a title and so on, okay? The articles you cite must be peer-reviewed journals, cannot be websites, and so on. And if you do use a peer-reviewed journal, you need to cite it correctly, as so. You must follow all of the rules, okay? Your report should be focused on one aspect of the data collected, which has been digitized, and I'm going to go through the Excel spreadsheet with you in a moment, okay? And a few examples here. You can calculate a diversity index, species richness, Shannon-Wiener, or you could look at the most common species, and just maybe look at 2 or 3, present them in a clear graph. Remember, you need a little bit of a story to help you make it work. Okay, so that's that for there. Very clear layout for the guidelines, and then some professional plot generation requirements. So I'll move that away, and then go here to the Excel spreadsheet. So I am using the Mac version of Excel, 2016 version, which is pretty much very similar to the version that's installed on the university computers. Now on this spreadsheet, we'll go back to zone 1. You can see down column A, we've got the species names, which are identical as we go through all of the zones, so it makes your life a little bit easier. We've got percentage cover, and for each of the species that were found. So what we might want to do is, we're going to use the whole of the group data. So we're going to use from group 1 to group 22, which is going to give us tremendous power for our analysis, because we'll have tons of quadrats there to work with. So we can assume that of all of the groups that we've got 24 groups. That 24 times 4 quadrats, 96 quadrats, which is tremendous power. N equals 96. Okay, so we've got 96 quadrats, and now I'm going to start creating an average for each of the species that were present. So I'm just going to go equals average, and you see that an automatic thing comes up, and I'm just going to go and drag my cursor all the way across from that, so it's nice moving around, and press enter. And there we go, we've got 74.475 of what though, we can't see it, so we have to go back all the way over here. Okay, so it's a bit of an annoyance trying to navigate like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to split the view up. So we go view on the tab, and we're going to go freeze panes, okay? So you can freeze first column, freeze top row, so on a split. Split is a common one that you find. You click split, and then you can move these splits about like so, if you wish. And then we just work in the main window, so we can actually see what we're talking about now as we go across to here. So Juncus maritimus is by far the most dominant. Now, there's my little formula. All I'm going to do is select my cell, and I'm just going to go to the little square in the corner until my cursor changes. As you can see, it changes from the white to the black, and drag that down. Okay? So here you can see we've got quite a few. We've got some div zeros, which means that it was not found. So we're just going to change those div zeros to zeros. Okay? So we can go and repeat that for each of the zones, and it's just as easy. We just go along here. We're just going to copy that, right click, copy. You see it starts to flash with this little line going around the outside. Go back, we'll go to a different sheet now, zone 2, go all the way to the end, like we did before. And then we'll paste that in here. Okay, so we'll just double check to make sure that that has worked just by double clicking on the cell. And then we'll just navigate all the way along. And you can see here that that fits right there. So that has worked, that copy there. And we see that in zone 2 we picked up a 45% average cover of Juncus maritimus. However, we do have a lot of zeros in here. So we've got 45% there. But there's all these cells are blank. So because it's not been recorded, we're just taking that average. So what we might need to do is start putting zeros in order to get a true average of what the patterns are. But there's a quick way of doing this, because we can see there that obviously 45% far too high. Remember, we've got 96 quadrats. We're taking an average, we've got 45, but we don't know how many were actually counted in there. So we're going to instead change our calculation to make it a little bit easier for us. I'm going to change this to sum. Okay. Oops, I made a mistake there by accidentally deleting the inside bracket. Okay. And I go down all of these. And then I'm just going to go equals that divided by 96. Scroll down. Okay. So we've got 96 quadrats, and we're just creating an average which is much more truer to what we want to achieve. So we'll go copy that, and I'll paste that in there. So we can see there that our actual true value is 0.5% cover from our 96 quadrats. And we'll just keep doing that. So I'm just going to show you one quick example. That's fairly easy to do, but there might be things that you want to do yourself that might give you a bit more practice, a bit more interesting analysis as you play with the data, rearrange it structurally and so on. And you can see that we've got Juncus maritimus goes from 62% to 0.5, to 0.6, 0.2, so fairly negligible. So we could actually have a dominant species plot where we're looking at the dominant species per zone and how their behavior is. So if we go to this one again, we can see here that Juncus maritimus is by far the most dominant. And if we go to zone 2, just have a look down, we've got 38%, which is cell 14, row 14, Festuca rubra. Is this one, 38% for Festuca, the grass. So that's the dominant species in that zone. We go to zone 3, and we've got number 13 this time, 44%. Let's go all the way across. Salicornia, really common. In zone 4, and again we've got Salicornia. So we could theoretically plot a graph which contains Juncus, Salicornia, Festuca, and we look at the dominant species in these zones and how they change across. So I'm just going to create a new sheet. I'm going to go, oops, so I just accidentally pasted that there. So I'm going to go zone 1, And then we'll go zone 2, zone 3, zone 4. Now I do caution you not to use these in your legend in the extra title. I would instead use high, mid, Spartana, low. Okay? So you've got, instead of using a numerical code of 1, 2, 3, 4, you're actually using a real name that people can latch onto. So, Junkers Maritimus, 62% in zone 1. So we go J Maritimus. And we've got 62% there. Okay, obviously with more time you can be a little bit more accurate with your rounding. I'm just copying numbers here just by typing them in. But you will be more scientific with your approach. Okay. So that's the first one. So we go for Stuka. In this one we've got 0.68. Zone 2, 38%. Zone 3, 13%. Zone 4, 2%. Okay, and you will do the same for the rest that you're interested in. So just to generate a very quick graph, I'm just going to select all these. We go insert, and I'm going to use a line chart for this. Okay, line with markers to present what's happening there. You can see here that we've got very quickly, I've drawn a very quick graph which is showing what the pattern is. So you can see that Juncus very dominant, and a massive decline, and as we go off. Whereas for Stuka we've got this kind of mid and Spartana zone dominance compared to the high and the low. Now this plot is nowhere near good enough. So I'm going to show you just how quickly we can turn it into something that actually would be fairly acceptable. Okay, first thing, chart title, go. The little lines that go along, go. Okay, so you can see that I'm now missing an active title. I think I accidentally deleted it, so I'm just going to keep pressing Control and Z to go back, but it's not present for some reason. So we're going to have to add a bar down there to illustrate that axis. So delete that, don't need this right now. We're going to work on that in a few moments. And now this is where I start to get a little bit trying to figure out what I'm trying to do now with this new version of Excel that I've not really used before. So chart type, move chart, I'm pretty sure there must be a few more buttons on here. Doesn't look like there are. So as you can see, I'm just playing, trying to find stuff. Oh, they've got some automatic options. Look at that one there. That's exactly what we kind of want to see. Click that, see what happens. Not a lot, just added that back on. Rubbish, don't want that. Okay, so I'm clicking on the plot to see if I can bring up the menu from axis. Let's have a look about. Ah, there we go, look at that, that's come up now. So we've now got an axis that's come up. Text options. Have a look, how do we add a title? So it takes a little bit of practice to try and figure out what's happening with all these new things. As you can see, even myself, I've been using these computers for a very, very long time. Still trying to figure out when they may release a new value, a new version, you've still got to try and figure out how it all works. But they're basically, to make this plot what we need it to be, I'm just going to start changing some of the text options. If I can figure out how to do it. Text fill, what's that? Nah, I don't want that. Nah. Text box, axis options, tick marks. No, that's okay. Labels, that's okay. Number, that's okay. Maybe if I try going home, and there's a text option, we'll increase the size. There we go. That's good. That's the first one. Let's increase that size as well. Make sure it's the same. 18 for that one. 18 for that one. Okay, so we've got that. So we're going to click on that line. I'm not a fan of having colour, so I'm going to try and change the line marker to something different. So we go solid line. Oh, so it's doing both of them, not just one. So we have to think about that. Let's have a look, see what happens if we change various bits and pieces. There we go. So changing that one. We've got dashed line versus solid line. That's fine. Let's go black. Okay. We'll go to this one and we'll go black for that one as well. And then we've got a marker style as well to change. We've got black. Oh, that's that. Black. Go to this one. Marker style. Black. Black. Okay, so that's already looking a lot clearer. Still got the issue of that missing line there, so I'm going to try and figure out where that is actually hidden. Okay, solid line, what's that? Ah, there we go, solid line. So if I click that, solid line, boom, there we go. Now we're still missing titles for our axes, so that's the next thing that we've got to try and figure out. How do we get them on? Chart design. Don't want that, that's hideous. Change chart type. Move chart. Add chart element. It's got to be this. Axis titles. Primary vertical. There we go. This is, if you remember, percentage cover. And then we'll go home. Increase the font size. Okay, generally want to be larger than the font that we're working with here. So we make that 14, 16, we make that 16, we make this 16. And then we'll go chart design, add chart element, chart axis titles, and primary horizontal. And then we'll go marsh zone. Okay. Select that, go back to home, and increase that to size 20 to match the percentage cover. Okay, so we're almost done. The only thing remaining is the background border, and by just selecting down at the bottom here, I can just select no line from the border. Theoretically, it should be good enough to copy. And paste. Oh, not allowing me. Right click, copy. And paste. Okay, resize it to fit. You see that we've got some font issues with the size of it there. So I would probably go edit. You won't be able to see that, but paste special brings up this. Paste special and paste it as an image. Okay, which allows you to change the size of it to fit on your display. Okay, without changing that. If you just paste it straight away, it pastes it as some kind of dynamic object, which when you resize it, the font sizes will stay the same and so on. But if you paste it as an image, you'll be able to make it smaller like that. Okay, so that's just an example, quick workup. Just choose species, but the final one is figure 1. Okay, dominant species coverage on the Shell Island Salt Marsh North Wales. Dashed line is Festuca rubra. Solid line is Juncus maritime. Okay, and obviously italicized the species name. Okay, then you've got a fairly good plot which is pretty much usable and publishable. Okay, so that there is a good example of just doing a very, very simple data analysis. You can do some stats on it, you can look at the relative proportion, you can do a t-test, you can do whatever you want. Okay, but it must be on one page, it must have a professional quality graph. Okay, that is the absolute crux of the assignment. Okay, in here as well, I've got common mistakes as well. I've got feedback and mark scheme, so if I click that, you see here that I've got a feedback form. So you want to basically be all the way along this side. Okay, you do not want to be on that side. I've got some examples here of what you're going to do, okay, and what you want to achieve. So if you are producing a poor plot with no descriptive text, okay, you haven't used the correct citation, you haven't used 2 centimeter margins, you have not achieved the single page limit, you will not score more than a C, okay? The most critical elements are this one here, professional quality graphs, followed by make sense in the text. You link the figure to the text and you've written the text well, okay? However, if you do meet the middle ground with areas that need to be updated, then you're okay. But if it's poorly written, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So make sure you read what you've written to make it a good thing. If you get this box, maybe anywhere between 2 to 3 students every year, not many, achieve this, okay? That is the top quality plot. Absolutely beautiful plot. Maybe showing the interaction of several different species. Really, really interesting. Something that makes me go, wow, I've never seen that kind of thing before. And you get yes, it's essentially an A star. Okay? And I've given you some YouTube videos that you can watch. On the bottom here, critical things like adding error bars in Excel can be a bit of a pain. And also drawing a professional quality graph. These are older versions of the Mac version of Excel. And just follow them as a general guideline. Okay? Please follow all of the requirements that I've done. Now the marking scheme will follow the CNS mark scheme, which is available from the CNS website, and as part of OSX 1000 you will already have a copy of that from your first year, okay? So keep an eye on that, but remember, keep it short, keep it focused, keep it well written, and so on, okay? So sorry this video is so long, but there's a lot of information to convey. If you have any questions, you feel free to email me. But essentially, you've got until the 23rd of October, which is plenty of time. It should not take you more than 2 or 3 hours to put this piece together.